Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Nick Leary, and today we've got a user's guide on your Sat Nav. Now, because there are so many different shapes and models and sizes of Mercedes-Benz, this one today is on a thing called MBUX. Now, there are a couple of versions of MBUX. There is one with a landscape kind of styled screen. This video today is on the one with the portrait styled screen that looks a bit like this. So these are found currently, at the time of recording, in the new C-Class, SL, EQE, EQS, and what will be the new GLC. So this video is for you if you have those systems. Let's have a look at the basics on the Sat Nav. So then guys, the basic controls of the Sat Nav, basically when you switch on your car, it's going to look a little bit like this. Now, I would just like to clarify one thing first. With NTG 7, there is a new thing called zero layer. So there may be a couple of kind of appearances on the screen. One will look one way and one will look the other. So I'll just clarify what it is first, then we'll show you the basics on how the Sat Nav works. So basically, zero layer is Mercedes-Benz's attempt to kind of make the Sat Nav and anything on the multimedia system as easy as possible. So let me show you what it's like without it. Now, traditionally with most multimedia systems in virtually every car, what you'd normally do is see your home screen like this, and you go into the Sat Nav to use things. And then when you're done with that, you come back out of it, go into phone, use the relevant functions on there, come back out of it, and then go into the next one just across like this. Now, what zero layer does is kind of combine them intelligently onto one screen, meaning, especially when you're driving, you don't have to spend so long looking at the screen because everything you need is just presented there. So it's literally just a couple of taps away. Now, to toggle between these two screens, when you're on the home screen like this, see the little picture of the house in the middle, the little home button. If you hold your finger on that, this is how you can change between the two screens. So here you can see, you can either choose zero layer, so you can see the Sat Nav is your home screen, and then all of the buttons kind of appear on an L shape around the outside. So you've got things over here on the left, and then things along the bottom, intelligently appearing depending on what you're using. Now, if you prefer the more traditional layout, hold the home button and then you can go to classic and use it that way. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to leave it on zero layer. So the basic controls then guys, you'll notice instantly that virtually everything you need is on the home screen because we're using zero layer. So if you look at the very, very top, it says where to, just there. So if we click on that button, and then you basically just type in where you want to go. So let's try the nearest town, just literally down the road, Poole. There we go, it comes up with a few suggestions, or maybe you want to type in a postcode. So let's just press the backspace and then type in the postcode of where I am right now. There we go, so it's found it, BH15 2BD, tap on that one, and then basically you'll be presented with this screen. Now, quite cleverly, if you expand on this, you can see the weather. But most importantly, the big button in the middle that says let's go, that's the one you use to get the Sat Nav going. Now, I will just add very quickly, there is a favorite button there as well, also by expanding that menu. So if you tap on this one, this is where you can save it as a global favorite and give it a custom name, or you can save as home or work or things like that. But for now, let me just tap the let's go button.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
Now, with this particular multimedia system, it will give you an overview, and obviously it's just literally over here, so it's going up down the road and coming straight back. After a few seconds, it will then zoom in just like this here, and then you'll be able to see clearly where you need to go. So now we covered how the Sat Nav starts, let's cover how to mute it, and of course how to cancel it. So as we are using zero layer, basically you'll see there the actual buttons you need to use to either mute it or cancel it are right there at the top. So see where it says please follow the arrow, there's a little picture of a speaker there. So if I tap that, that will mute the Sat Nav. So you just have the visual element on the screen. Now, what about if you want to cancel it, for example? Well, that's the button just above it, where the little picture of the Finnish flag and the stop button is. So let me tap that one, and then that's finished. So very, very easy. Your where to, finish and mute buttons are all near the top. And of course, because we're using zero layer, it intelligently appears on the top left of the screen. So those are the basic controls. What about some more advanced things like voice control? Now, NTG 7 or MBUX version 2 that I like to call it, the one with the portrait screen, it is actually connected via Mercedes Me. So I won't cover Mercedes Me completely in this video. There's a separate video on the pop-up banner up above. However, This has a Hey Mercedes voice assistant. Now that's quite clever because most of the time it won't pick up you saying that phrase if you're saying it in a sentence like I just did then. But if you leave a gap and then say, Hey Mercedes.
Hello, I'm Mercedes, your voice assistant.
Basically, that is the voice assistant. So I'll cancel that introduction for now because I've got a separate video on the voice assistant. But just to show you a few commands that you can do on the Sat Nav. So for example, I don't know, maybe I wanted to navigate to the next town across. Quite simply, you would say, Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Navigate to Bournemouth.
I am starting route guidance to Bournemouth.
And again, it will show you the same thing, but it'll show you the route with the kind of overview. And then a few seconds later, it will then zoom in, showing you exactly where you are. And of course, the blue kind of route of where you need to go. Now, of course, there are loads of commands that you can give to that, but honestly, just give it a go. So you basically say the phrase, Hey Mercedes, and then give it a command on the screen. And of course, when you're done, or if you said it by accident, just press the back button and that will then stop listening. But there's loads of commands you can give for asking it the weather, you can ask her jokes, you can obviously navigate to places, towns, streets, postcodes, and do many other things, even phoning people as well. Now this multimedia system is quite clever. You can also do a thing called intermediate destinations, which is basically almost like waypoints. So say I was going to do a tour of the UK visiting the 3 peaks, so Snowdon, Scafell Pike and Ben Nevis in Scotland. If you put in your final destination first and then add the others after that, that is how you can use that. So let's use an example. If I go to Bournemouth first and then end up here at BH15 2BD. So let's go where to? Let's put in our final destination first. So we'll get that going. And of course I have got the Sat Nav muted at the moment, so she won't talk right this moment. You put in your final destination first and then add your stops. So let's stop in Bournemouth, next town across. Now when you go to type this in, it's going to look a bit like this. And you can see here there's a couple of buttons which have intelligently appeared. So you can add that to your route or make it your final stop going to Bournemouth. So I want to add that to my route. Then you'll see there we've got multiple times at the top now. So you'll see number 1, 5.9 miles, and then the finish, 13 miles. Basically number 1 is your first stop, all the way over in Bournemouth, and then to come all the way back, that'll be the finish there, so 13 miles in total. And then finish button to cancel it, just like before. Now I do get asked quite a bit on my YouTube channel, especially in the comments section, on the recommended settings for the Sat Nav. Now I will add the default settings are the best, so if you have factory reset it, I would leave them as they are. However, if you have bought a used Mercedes, for example, and you haven't reset it, just double check the settings and make sure that they are as they should be. So if you want to access your settings, on the top left hand corner there's a picture of a car. So if we tap on that one, and then she'll give you a nice little morning introduction there. Where do you want to go? But if we go to settings on the bottom right hand corner of the screen, in here, of course, there's loads of things you can control. Now, I say you won't normally need to go in here, but just double check you're on the right settings. Other routes in real time, of course, relates to the live traffic, so it will offer any alternative routes. So obviously make sure that's all activated on Mercedes Me, but more on that in a minute. But if we go to dynamic route guidance, again, keep that on automatic, unless you'd prefer to the Sat Nav to kind of offer an alternative route and then ask you before doing it. You could do after asking, but automatic is basically going to give you the quickest route possible and then avoiding all that kind of traffic. Of course, there's a few things underneath this where we've got avoid motorways, toll roads, that sort of thing. So toll roads can be quite a popular one, you know, if you don't want to go on any toll road. For example, the M6 toll, quite a popular one in the UK, or even congestion zones in London. If you do avoid all, basically it will reroute you the freeway instead of going the tollway. So with all of that out of the way, what about this live traffic? Well, live traffic information is actually renewed via the Mercedes Me store. So I won't cover the exact way of renewing it in this video, so I've got a separate video on renewing live traffic, which I'll link up above. However, it's quite easy. Basically, with most models of Mercedes-Benz, they do have Mercedes Me services free of charge for a set time. Most commonly in the UK, it's about 3 years from new, from the registration date, so brand new car, 3 years live traffic. But double check with your local Mercedes, as I'm sure this does vary around the world, so just double check with them to be sure. So as always guys, I'd like to give out a huge shout out to Sandown Mercedes-Benz, as they help provide access to all these awesome cars you see in the videos. Now, that comment section down below, guys, if you have a question, comment, or even a suggestion for a future video, pop it down below and I might just consider yours. You never know. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next week, see you then.